Welcome to this explainer on mental wealth, the new standard of American business success. Look, I want to start by just acknowledging something really real right off the bat. If you're watching this, there's a very good chance you're just exhausted. Because, behind every single billion-dollar company we admire, behind every late-night hustle, and every professional who seemingly has it all together, there is a human nervous system operating under immense pressure. Today we're going to unpack exactly why ignoring that pressure isn't just a personal problem anymore. It is a catastrophic business failure waiting to happen.
Okay, let's dive into this. We have all heard the mantra, right? Sleep less, work harder, grind until you make it, your value equals your productivity. For decades, American business essentially worshipped this toxic hustle culture. I mean, it was printed on our coffee mugs, shouted by every business guru, but we really need to shatter that illusion today. This mindset didn't create a generation of unstoppable superworkers. Actually, scratch that, it created an absolute epidemic of exhaustion. We chased this really dangerous illusion and man, it is finally catching up to us.
Which brings us to part 1, the American burnout crisis and surviving the hustle culture illusion. The reality we're facing today is that burnout has become completely normalized. And the hidden costs? They are massive. Chronic anxiety is basically just a standard feature of corporate culture now. To survive economically under these old rules, millions of us started sacrificing the absolute bare minimum essentials: our sleep, family time, emotional stability, and in some tragic cases, quite literally the will to live. People are trading these fundamental human needs just to keep their heads above water. The result? Millions are waking up emotionally bankrupt before they even get out of bed. And ironically, even with higher salaries in some of these industries, workers actually feel poorer emotionally than they ever have.
Let's look at Section 2, the new business currency and the paradigm shift we're seeing.
Right now, the smartest, most dominant companies are drastically shifting their approach. And it's not out of the goodness of their hearts, it's because they've realized a hard mathematical truth. Mental health directly impacts the bottom line. Think about it. In the old economy, your greatest assets were machinery and physical labor, right? You optimize the factory line. But in the new economy, the absolute ultimate asset is human cognitive performance. It has entirely replaced machinery as the #1 driver of business success. If your so-called machinery is a stressed out, exhausted human brain, your production is going to grind to a complete halt. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what happens. When your business relies on cognitive performance, the output of a calm mind is just undeniable. We're talking better decisions, faster problem solving, stronger teams, way higher quality output. But what happens when you inject burnout into that exact same system? It completely destroys creativity, it reduces productivity, weakens your leadership, and literally kills innovation. Your cognitive performance dictates whether your best people stay, how well your teams actually function, and ultimately, if your business is even going to survive the decade.
Here's the harsh reality. A mentally broken workforce cannot sustain economic growth. It's just a fundamental impossibility. We've built one of the most productive economies in human history, sure, but if the minds powering it are fractured, that growth is totally an illusion. Chasing financial success without psychological peace isn't success at all. It's just a straight road to emotional bankruptcy.
Moving on to Section 3. The cost of exhaustion and the silent suffering happening all around us. Right now, there is an absolute war being waged on the attention of the modern worker. Just think about the daily triggers: the fear of losing healthcare, mounting student debt, runaway inflation, rising rent, economic instability, constant social media pressure. It is a relentless barrage. Every single day, workers are hit by these threats, and it keeps the human brain trapped in this perpetual fight-or-flight response. Our nervous systems were simply never designed to stay in constant survival mode for years on end, and yet that's exactly what millions of people are doing.
And this perpetual fight-or-flight state, it leads directly to what we call emotional disengagement, or quiet quitting. You know the feeling. Employees are physically sitting at their desks, but mentally, they are totally checked out. They feel invisible, disposable, completely psychologically drained. But listen, this isn't just a personal failing or laziness. It is an urgent corporate crisis. A paycheck alone just doesn't cut it anymore. As humans, we require purpose, respect, and emotional safety to actually engage with our work.
Then there is this massive gap between perception and reality, especially for leaders and entrepreneurs. On one side, you've got this glossy social media facade where everyone is pretending to be constantly winning. But the entrepreneurial reality? It's often filled with leaders who are incredibly anxious, emotionally exhausted, deeply lonely, and honestly terrified of failure. So many people are building these highly successful companies on the outside while completely collapsing internally due to the extreme uncertainty and isolation.
Compounding all of this is the attention economy. Our daily focus is just fractured across bad news, comparison culture, manufactured fear and outrage, totally unrealistic success stories, and this endless loop of dopamine stimulation. These apps and platforms are fighting a literal psychological war for your focus. This constant bombardment severely damages our concentration and our self-worth. Ultimately, an emotionally weaker, highly distracted society ends up making poor economic decisions across the board. Okay, let's take a breath and get to Section 4, Practical Steps to Recover and Building Human-Centered Solutions.
Let's step away from the toxic positivity for a minute. We need to look at real, biological, and organizational actions we can take right now. Here is our roadmap for recovery. It comes down to 5 essential steps: normalizing conversations, rebuilding boundaries, reducing digital overload, creating human-centered workplaces, and finally, redefining success.
So the crucial point is, step 1, we have to acknowledge that strong people also burn out. Successful people also feel anxiety. We really need to stop treating emotional struggle as some kind of character weakness. High performers absolutely need help too. And maintaining this toxic culture of silence around stress, it only makes the suffering infinitely worse.
Step 2 is all about rebuilding boundaries. Let's look at the biology here. The brain requires sleep, rest, movement, sunlight, and real human connection just to recover. Constant, non-stop work actively destroys your brain's ability to heal. Without these non-negotiable biological necessities, your performance isn't just going to take a little dip, it's eventually going to crash completely. Step 3 tackles our digital overload. Doom scrolling through comparison culture absolutely fries our nervous systems. So what's the antidote? Deliberately returning to moments of silence and actually engaging in real life. We have to ruthlessly reduce our screen time if we want to protect our focus and our peace. Because let's be honest, when was the last time doom scrolling actually solved a real problem? Step 4 is for the corporate leaders out there. Look, adding a ping pong table to the break room doesn't fix burnout. You need actual human-centered priorities. We're talking psychological safety, respectful leadership, true flexibility, fair expectations, and real emotional support systems. Your employees are not robots. If you want a healthy, thriving, profitable business, you have to remember that healthy people are the ones who build healthier businesses.
Which brings us to our final section, redefining modern success and the AI era advantage.
As we look ahead to the future economy, we have to completely change how we measure value. We need to trade those old metrics of mere income and status for true success: peace of mind, emotional stability, meaningful relationships, physical health, and actual purpose. Because let me be very clear about this. No amount of money, prestige, or status feels valuable when your mind is fundamentally broken.
Plus, as machines and algorithms replace massive amounts of repetitive labor in the AI era, our deeply human traits don't become obsolete. Things like creativity, empathy, emotional leadership, trust, resilience, and authentic human connection, those actually become our most scarce and valuable assets.
Which brings us to our ultimate conclusion. Mental health is business success. They aren't separate categories anymore. The strongest, most dominant companies of the future won't just win because they have the best tech or the sharpest strategy. No, they're going to win because they have the healthiest, most resilient minds driving that technology. Emotional resilience is the new economic power.
So I'll leave you with this to really think about. In a world practically designed to exhaust you, to drain your attention, and to keep you stuck in survival mode, how will you protect your mind, your ultimate competitive advantage? Thank you so much for watching this explainer, and please, take care of your mental wealth.